Hello, this is Debbie Kay with the League of Women Voters of Portland, and you are watching Video Voters Guide or listening to our podcast. With the technical support of Metro East Community Media, we're here today to talk with candidates running in the May 17th, 2022 primary election. We are grateful for the support of the Carol and Velma Sailing Foundation, the Sarah Fruing Memorial Fund, Vernier Software and Technology, and our media partner, Metro East Community Media. With me today is Dacia Grayber. She is running for the Oregon Legislature House District 28, which encompasses parts of South Portland and East Washington County. Is that right?
That is correct.
Welcome. So glad that you could join us today.
Thank you, Debbie.
You're welcome. Please tell us a little about yourself and why you are running for office.
And again, thank you so much to the League of Women Voters for having me on and providing this service. So my name is Dacia Grayber. I am the current state representative for House District 35, just finishing my first term. When I am not in the legislature, I have been a professional firefighter and paramedic for over 20 years. And a mother of four, and I live just over the border in Multnomah County. So I am running, I stepped up for public office to serve in a greater capacity. I have the privilege of responding to sometimes the worst day in someone's life, and to be able to take that experience of bettering someone's life or helping them and then provide that on a scale of 80,000 or 70,000 is really an extraordinary experience. So I'm asking for voters to give me the privilege of returning again.
Thank you. What, if anything, do you think the legislature should do about campaign finance reform in Oregon? And please explain.
Yeah, well, you only need to look to Congressional District 6 right now to see that the existing state of campaigns has gone wild. We have two candidates who are self-funded or funded by cryptocurrency, spending millions of dollars, who've never held public office. And we're going to see that, I fear, down ballot as well. So we do need to support campaign finance reform in the legislature. I was a supporter of now Speaker Dan Rayfield's bill in the last legislative session. And I think that we need to make sure we have candidates who are able to come from all walks of life and have a fair shot. I do want to shout out the Secretary of State in Orstar because we have a pretty phenomenal independent researching system, but it's not always the most user-friendly. But I think our voters deserve to know where our funding is coming from, and we need to equalize that playing field.
Thank you. Do you think that Oregon should use an independent Citizens Redistricting Commission, and why or why not?
So this is a tough one because I know this is a League of Women Voters priority, and I think there is a yes and. So I am not against an independent redistricting commission. And in the last election cycle in other states, we saw that this was a success, although there are places like Washington and Michigan where it still went to the courts. So I think that at the end of the day, the goal is removing partisanship and bias. And I think we're never going to be entirely able to do that because even with an independent redistricting commission, there's still someone appointing, there's still someone in power and people held accountable to an ideology. With a legislative redistricting process, I do think that accountability is right up front. So you have voter accountability, and you know that if things, and same with the independent redistricting, those can go to the courts. So I believe that we do need to continue to do this in a bipartisan manner. I think we're on the right track, and ultimately we should move this to an independent redistricting commission, but it needs to be very transparent, very accountable, and there needs to be recourse if it goes sideways.
Thank you.
Welcome.
To our audience, you are listening to the Video Voters Guide interview and podcast of Dacia Grayber, who is running for the Oregon House of Representatives District 28. And our next question, what does Oregon need to do to provide affordable quality childcare for families?
This is such an essential piece to rebuilding after the pandemic, and we need to build and professionalize this workforce because historically we undervalue caregivers anyway, and we need to increase the representation and pay that is commensurate with their worth as caregivers. So incentivizing people entering the field. Everyone knows that Oregon is a childcare desert, so it's not a matter of need, it's that we don't have the providers and we're not providing them with value. So, the legislature has made historic investments, over $300 million in early childhood education. I think we continue that and we build pathways like preschool for all. But we also have things that we passed in the short session, like Future Ready Oregon, which will hopefully provide avenues for funding this. So encouraging people to enter that field by providing wraparound services for training and really professionalizing our childcare workforce. If we can't get childcare for folks, it's really hard to get families back into the workforce.
Thank you. How, if at all, should privately made firearms, frequently called ghost guns, be regulated?
They should be. So for folks that don't know, I've been a big supporter and was one of the lead sponsors in Senate Bill 554, which was secure storage. Ghost guns absolutely need to be regulated just the same as regular guns, with serial numbers and background checks. There's a lot of nuance to this bill, but firearms should be regulated the same way and held to the same standard. And it's not, I think people tend to think it's just guns being printed on 3D printers. This is actual, stock guns being modified that lose the intention of what they are originally produced as. So we need to make sure that's transparent and accountable and ultimately traceable.
Thank you. And our last question, probably fairly quickly, what, if any, reforms would you propose to improve the current legislative process?
I tried to race through these. Yes. So the current legislative process doesn't work great because we have one long session and then we try to cram all the fixes into a short session. And so we lose the opportunity to really provide nuance and dive in. So I think that we need to professionalize the legislature. And with that, we need to have the conversation about legislator pay. I balance a full-time job and career with legislation, but I'm telling you, it is a full-time job outside of session as well, with constituent responses. And other work that we do, we are constantly working. We lost 3 brilliant working legislators. And if we want to keep a legislature that encourages and nurtures and really is representative of the population of Oregon, then we do need to work on professionalizing our legislature.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This concludes our Video Voters Guide and podcast, where we have been talking with Dacia Grayber, running for House District 28. Thank you to the audience for being informed voters. Please tell your family and friends about these election resources. Election Day is Tuesday, May 17th. Be sure to exercise your right to vote. Thank you very much.